go to the next slide first, opportunities in the UN. So we take various opportunities, and reviews of North Korea is always a good time for us to present our information, because it gives us a reason to organize all our information in North Korea and to present it in a concise manner. For example, in the Universal Periodic Review. So the Universal Periodic Review is actually a peer review process for like all the member countries of the UN. So every country gets reviewed in the UPR every 4 to 5 years. And this has just happened for North Korea in 2019. And actually, North Korea would prefer for countries or NGOs to intervene in human rights issues through the UPR rather than so-called special procedures, which is in the bottom of this list. Special procedures would include country-specific procedures. So you probably know that for North Korea, there is a special rapporteur of the UN that looks at the human rights situation in DPRK, which is North Korea. But North Korea tends to hate this kind of country-specific procedures because they tend to look at it as singling them out. Yeah, but for something like the UPR, like every countries get review, and North Korea seems less embarrassed in that sense, and that they think it's a fairer process. So it is important to make use of this UPR process to make any recommendations that you feel it's important. Of course, North Korea can choose whether to accept the recommendations or not. And note one thing, we as NGOs do not make the recommendations in the UPR. Rather, we have to make our submission and go through all the different governments that are participating in the UPR and ask them to make the recommendations on our behalf. So in that sense, it is both advocacy at the UN, but also talking to governments that are participating in the process so that they could make recommendations that we care about to North Korea. Yes. So there's the UPR, but there are also specific treaty bodies. So in recent years, North Korea has shown some participation in the Covenant on the Rights of the Child, like so it's a treaty on children's rights, and also on CEDAW. So that's the Covenant on the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women. So it's about children's rights and women's rights, and North Korea was willing to be reviewed. So NGOs would send submissions to those treaty bodies as well. So in those treaty bodies, you don't try to influence governments because it is not a peer review process, but rather there is a committee from the treaty body that is involved in the review of North Korea. So we try to send our submissions ahead of time, and if possible, then we go to Geneva actually and try to meet the members of the committee before the review, so we can tell them what we care about and ask them to raise it for us during the review meeting. Yes. So that's a very major part of my work. So I have to do that not only for North Korea, but also the other countries. And of course, it's not possible to come up with a submission for every treaty body review. So we have to choose and be strategic about it. Yeah. And then every year there are 2 resolutions on North Korea human rights. And one is during the General Assembly in November or December, and the other one is in the Human Rights Council in March. And here, usually, there are 2 ways to influence. One way is that you try to influence the content, and Amnesty International has a pretty good presence in New York and Geneva. So sometimes we are able to get advance copies of the text of the resolution, and we may be able to put in 1 or 2 comments, or one or two comments and even be able to participate in the meetings where country governments discuss the content of the resolution. Yeah. And the other way to influence is to influence the voting, but more in the recent years, usually the resolutions on North Korea human rights were adopted without a vote. That means countries would agree by consensus to adopt the resolution, whereas those countries, typically like China, that do not agree with the resolution, they would just remove themselves from the decision. Yeah. So these are all opportunities at the UN.